Friends, in China's officialdom, there's a department-level position whose survival rate is even lower than that of a high-risk battlefield. On May 7, 2026, an official obituary of just 79 characters set off a firestorm in overseas Chinese communities and among locals in Chongqing. The announcement stated that Zhang Anjiang, the 55-year-old head of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, had died suddenly of an illness. But on that very same day, another version of the story was spreading like wildfire in private conversations and on social media that he had jumped from the 15th floor of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau building. Was it sudden death or suicide by jump-in? The official statement was vague, but if you pull up the list of people who have held the position of Chongqing Public Security Bureau Chief over the past 20 years, Wen Qiang, Chongqing PSB Deputy Director for 11 years, was executed in 2010. Zhu Mingguo, PSB Chief for 6 years, got a suspended death sentence in 2014. Wang Lijun served 4 years and got 15 years in prison. Ting was chief for 5 years until his 2017 expulsion and removal. Deng Huilin served for less than 3 years before being investigated in 2020 and sentenced to 15 years in prison. Zhang Anjiang only held the position for a year and a half. At the prime age of 55, he died suddenly under mysterious circumstances, with the cause of death remaining unclear. All 6 consecutive chiefs met unfortunate ends. The position of Chongqing Public Security Bureau Chief has become the most cursed and deadly post in the Chinese Communist Party's officialdom. So today, let's talk about whether the Chongqing curse is a matter of fate or a setup. For more stories on CCP official circles, please like and subscribe to True Perspective. Now, let's look at Chongqing's unique background as a mountain city. Chongqing is China's only inland municipality. It is no ordinary city. At 80,000 square kilometers, it's the size of a province. It spans skyscrapers, rural mountains, and the Three Gorges Reservoir. The government calls it a complex of big city, countryside, mountains, and reservoir area. The level of complexity here is something that Beijing and Shanghai simply can't compare to. But what truly defines Chongqing's character isn't its geography, it's its deep-rooted underworld culture. Chongqing has always been a port city along the Yangtze River, from the late Qing dynasty to the Republican era. Here, the purges culture runs deep. You could think of it as the Chinese version of the Italian mafia. The purges value loyalty and brotherhood, form cliques, and always seek revenge for any grudge. The lines between the legal and the illegal, the white and the black, are blurred. You find me and you and me. This way of life didn't disappear after the Communist Party established its rule in 1949. Instead, it seeped into Chongqing's business world and underground economy in a more hidden way. Even the political and legal systems are affected. Let me give you an example. There was a crime boss in Chongqing named Wang Ping. Since the 1980s, he ran rampant in the Yuzhong district. Robbery, gang fights, shootouts. He would have gunfights with people right on the street in broad daylight. He was involved in a long list of major cases. But guess what happened to him? In 2001, he successfully fled abroad and wasn't caught and brought back until 2018. The reason he was able to remain at large for over a decade was because of the protection he had behind the scenes, someone we're about to talk about, Wen Qiang, the former deputy director of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau. Wen Qiang even attended Wang Ping's daughter's wedding openly, and the two of them would eat and drink together without any attempt to hide it. This is what it looks like when the police and the underworld are indistinguishable from each other. This is a concrete manifestation of Chongqing's purges culture. So the very position of Chongqing's Public Security Bureau Chief is itself a web of darkness, long woven with hidden threads. In this web, there are gangs, local police factions, business interest groups, and the dockside economy. And this is the underlying color of Chongqing's curse. The story begins with a godfather named Wen Qiang. In September 2000, in the dimly lit interrogation room of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, then Deputy Director Wen Qiang was staring intently at a man in handcuffs sitting before him. This man was Zhang Anjiang, who had committed countless murders, robbed millions, and operated across several provinces. He was known as China's #1 ruthless bandit. And the very person who personally ended his legend and sent him to the gallows was Wen Qiang. Because of this case, Wen Qiang became a nationally renowned hero in the fight against organized crime overnight. But just before Zhang Anjiang was escorted to the execution ground, he suddenly turned his head. He threw a sentence at Wen Qiang: "One day, you'll end up just like me." At the time, this was just a desperate curse from a death row inmate before his execution. After all, Wen Qiang had held the position of deputy director of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau for 11 years. During those 11 years, he turned the entire mountain city into his own underground kingdom. He attended the weddings of crime bosses, was a VIP guest of KTV madams, and real estate tycoons lined up to give him money. Wen Qiang was not only a law enforcer, but also the biggest figure in Chongqing's underworld. A new Pao-gate? How can he possibly end up like that notorious bandit? But no matter how powerful the undercurrents of the underworld are, they can't compare to the political storm. In 2007, Bo Xilai was sent to Chongqing, a leader with huge ambition. To reach the top, he needed a major achievement to make waves nationwide, a crime crackdown. But to do that, how could he trust Wen Qiang, a local veteran? Needing a loyal enforcer, in 2008, Bo Xilai brought in Wang Lijun from Liaoning. Upon arrival, Wang sidelined Wen Qiang, moving him to the Justice Bureau, a lateral move that was actually a demotion. This move was meant to sideline the old guard, to clear the way for the new power to take root. Right after that, a highly dramatic arrest unfolded. On August 7, 2009, as a flight from Beijing landed at Jiangbai Airport in Chongqing, Wen Qiang walked down the air stairs beaming with joy. But before he even had a chance to take in the foggy scenery of this mountain city, several heavily armed SWAT officers surrounded him. And the one leading the team, blocking the exit at the top of the stairs, was none other than Wang Lijun. And just like that, the hero who once captured notorious criminals in 7 days was sent to prison by the new generation's anti-crime hero. A year later, the Chongqing No. 5 Intermediate People's Court sentenced Wen Qiang to death, and 3 months later he was executed by firing squad. Before he left, Wen Qiang left Wang Lijun with a parting remark: "One day, you'll end up just like me." This was the curse that the notorious criminal once gave to Wen Qiang, now passed on to Wang Lijun without any change. And so, the baton of ambition and power in this world of outlaws was handed to the second person. As for Wang Lijun, who took over, he soon entered the most glorious and also the most frenzied period of his life. He also benefited from the persona of a crime-fighting hero. When he was the police chief in Tiling and Jinzhou, Liaoning, there was even a TV drama called Iron-Blooded Police Soul based on him. After he arrived in Chongqing, he worked closely with Bo Xilai to launch a campaign-style crackdown on organized crime. In just a month or two, he sent over 2,000 civil servants and police officers to prison, took down 29 criminal gangs, and even private entrepreneurs with assets worth over 100 million yuan were labeled as crime bosses overnight, with all their property confiscated. He ruled the Chongqing police with an iron fist. He demanded motorcade escorts, designed the uniforms himself, and repeatedly purged the force. He rose quickly from deputy chief to chief and then deputy mayor. He rose rapidly through the ranks. But friends, you have to understand, the anti-crime campaign that Wang Lijun wielded was, at its core, Bo Xilai's pledge of loyalty in his bid to join the Politburo Standing Committee. Wang Lijun was not an enforcer of the law, but rather Bo Xilai's personal armed force. This twisted relationship of dependence sealed his tragic fate. On November 13, 2011, a shocking murder took place in Building 16 of the Nanshan Lijing Resort Hotel in Chongqing, sending shockwaves both in China and abroad. Bo Xilai's wife, Zhu Kailai, personally murdered the British businessman Neil Haywood with poison over a financial dispute. As the chief of police, Wang Lijun was the first to learn about the incident, but what did he do? He used his absolute police authority. He helped the boss's wife destroy evidence at the scene, forged a statement claiming Haywood died from excessive drinking, and even went so far as to forcibly cremate Haywood's body. But the most fascinating thing about this dark political world is that the master doesn't necessarily trust the servant, and the servant never dares to rely completely on the master either. While Wang Lijun was helping Zhu Kailai cover up her crime, he secretly recorded a conversation between himself and Zhu Kailai. In fact, when Zhu Kailai confided the details of the murder to him, Wang Lijun used hidden equipment to secretly record not only her voice, but even the sound of her breathing. And these recordings became his ultimate trump card for saving his own life later on. Soon, this fragile alliance between master and servant completely fell apart. On January 28, 2012, Wang Lijun went to Bo Xilai's office and laid bare the fact that Bo Xilai was suspected of murdering Neil Haywood. As for why he exposed it, there are various theories. Some say his conscience got the better of him, while others believe he was trying to blackmail his boss for a promotion. Others say that he and Bo Xilai had already completely fallen out long before. In any case, the result was that Bo Xilai flew into a rage on the spot and with a loud smack slapped Wang Lijun across the face. Then he ordered the illegal investigation of 3 of Wang Lijun's close staff members. Friends, that slap changed the course of the 18th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. Wang Lijun realized he knew too much and could be made to disappear or be suicided at any moment. On January 29th, Wang Lijun was removed from his position as police chief. On February 6th, he decided to take a desperate risk. He disguised himself as an ordinary old man, evaded Bo Xilai's secret surveillance, and took with him secretly copied audio recordings, incriminating materials, and tens of thousands of US dollars in cash. He got into an ordinary SUV and sped 340 kilometers down the highway, heading straight for Chengdu. That afternoon, he walked into the U.S. Consulate General in Chengdu. As soon as he entered, he pulled out the materials and revealed a shocking secret that left the American diplomat stunned. The wife of a member of the Chinese Communist Party's Politburo had killed a British man. This was the only case since 1949 of a Chinese official at the vice ministerial level or above defecting to a Western foreign consulate. Bo Xilai reacted furiously, sending Chongqing's armed police and armored vehicles to surround the U.S. consulate. The Americans denied Wang Lijun asylum, instead handing him to Central Committee officials. The matter reached Xi Jinping, then preparing for leadership. Consequently, Wang Lijun got 15 years, Bo Xilai a suspended death sentence, and Bo Xilai life imprisonment. In court, Wang Lijun showed genuine remorse for his crimes and did not appeal his sentence. With Wang Lijun's downfall, the entire security apparatus in Chongqing was turned upside down. So who would take over this mess? The CCP chose Ting, a professionally trained officer who graduated from Southwest University of Political Science and Law in 1983. He led the anti-terrorism and criminal investigation bureaus at the Ministry of Public Security, handling the Baiyun airport hijacking and Chandao Lake incident. These major cases caused an international sensation. He later served as public security director and vice governor in Gansu and Qinghai. In March 2012, he moved from Qinghai to become Chongqing's deputy mayor and public security chief, tasked solely with eliminating Bo Xilai and Wang Lijun's influence. He initially succeeded, but Wang's previous aggressive anti-crime campaigns had already marginalized many non-compliant officers. It's estimated that more than 2,000 police officers were wronged or suppressed. After Ting took office, he launched a large-scale review and frequent re-examinations of the appeals from these over 2,000 people. For a while, Ting's prestige soared within the Qingqing police force. Grassroots officers were all saying that Director He was like Bao Qingtian reborn. But if the story ended here, Ting would be a hero. However, you have to understand, in the dark world of the Chinese Communist Party, heroes don't exist. Power struggles are everywhere. Then rumors started spreading, saying that under the pretense of rehabilitating wronged officers, Ting actually purged those who were originally loyal to the previous leadership and replaced them with his own people from the Ministry of Public Security and from Qinghai. This kind of thing isn't unusual in the game of power, but Ting took it to a whole new level. Because the purge created so many vacancies, Ting basically turned the Chongqing Public Security Bureau into his own personal hat distribution center. Want to be a chief or commander? Just pay to get the job. He was later found to have corrupted the personnel system by selling promotions. The CCDI calls this selling official positions. The reason Ting dared to go this far was because he had found himself a powerful backer. At that time, the party secretary in charge of Chongqing was the high-flying Sun Zhentai. Who was Sun Zhentai? Born in 1963, he was a political rising star, considered one of the strongest candidates to succeed Xi Jinping. Ting was quick to sense the political winds, and in order to pave himself a path to the top, he did everything he could to cozy up to Sun Zhentai, tying himself closely to Sun's faction as a loyal follower. He thought he had already latched on to the next member of the Politburo Standing Committee in advance, and from then on he could rest easy without any worries. See, who would have thought that in the CCP's political battleground, the earlier you pick a side, the worse you end up? In July 2017, before the 19th Party Congress, Sun Zhangkai was placed under investigation. He was the first sitting Politburo member investigated since the 18th Party Congress. Sun's downfall left Ting without a backer. Then it collapsed. 3 months later, in October 2017, Ting was expelled from the party, demoted from vice provincial to a deputy division-level non-leadership role, and forced to retire. Such a dramatic drop is rare, even for high-ranking CCP officials. Ting was sent to Chongqing to purge Bo Xilai's influence, but ultimately became part of Sun Zhangkai's legacy. He couldn't escape the Chongqing magic spell. Friends, if you've watched up to this point and feel satisfied, please do me a small favor, give me a like, and also share this video with friends around you who are interested in Chinese officialdom and political struggles. So after Ting fell, in July 2017, Deng Huilin was parachuted into Chongqing to take over as police chief. Deng Huilin's background is even cleaner than Ting's. A Wuhan native with a law master's, he was a long-time Hebei official before moving to the CPLA There, he led both the anti-secession and CPLA offices. He is a top-tier loyal cadre. As soon as Deng Huilin arrived in Chongqing, he immediately ramped up the political rhetoric, launching a grand political slogan to fully, thoroughly, and cleanly eliminate the pernicious influence of Sun Zhangkai, as well as the lingering effects of Bo Xilai, Wang Lijun, and Ting. He wanted to purge the influence of all four. Local media discussed this daily for months. Even Chongqing police thought law enforcement would be reborn and the city transformed. But as for Deng Huilin himself, he became another corrupt official. In June 2020, Deng Huilin was placed under investigation. By 2021, an official report slammed him for forming cliques, accumulating political capital, and political opportunism. In the Chinese Communist Party's discourse, these words mean forming factions for personal gain and harboring ulterior motives, political capital offenses. So who exactly was Deng Huilin forming these secret alliances with? It was with Sun Lijun, who was then the Vice Minister of Public Security. Sun Lijun was a major political force targeted by Xi Jinping's anti-corruption campaign. Within the national public security system, he built a personal intelligence and political network that answered only to him. This network spanned provinces like Shanghai, Jiangsu, Shanxi, Chongqing, and Sichuan. It included officials Gong Daoan, Wang Lijun, Liu Shengyun, and Deng Huilin. They tipped each other off and traded intelligence, and even internally drafted a political plan to move up a level every 5 years. This isn't just simple corruption anymore. This is a political rebellion aimed at seizing the highest power in the central government. Rumors suggest that during Deng Huilin's 3 years in Chongqing, he used the toxic influence campaign to eliminate political opponents. Officers who defied the Sun Lijun group were purged and demoted in batches under various pretexts. Meanwhile, people from his hometown in Hubei and Sun Lijun's trusted associates were rapidly promoted in batches like they were riding a rocket. For a while, complaints filled the Chongqing police force. Veteran officers were all furious but didn't dare to speak out. These rumors all seem to be confirmed later in the official reports. In the end, Deng Huilin was sentenced to 15 years in prison, the same sentence as Wang Lijun. At this point, let's count from Wen Qiang to Zhu Mingguo, then to Wang Lijun, and finally Deng Huilin. All 5 people who held the real power as Chongqing's police chief have fallen. 1 was executed by firing squad, 1 received a suspended death sentence, 2 were sentenced to 15 years, and 1 was dismissed and stripped of his position. All the way up to Zhang Anjiang, who was urgently appointed in 2024. This Zhang Anjiang, who took office in a crisis in 2024, can be said to have the cleanest and most professional background among these 5 chiefs, with the least political entanglements. He was born in 1971 in Jingtai, Gansu. He holds a bachelor's degree in architectural engineering from Xi'an University of Mining and Technology and a master's degree in structural engineering from Gansu University of Technology. He is a purely technical official with an engineering background. Starting in 1997, he rose through the ranks at the Gansu Development and Reform Commission. He spent 22 years there, focusing on economic investment, with no background in public security or legal affairs. It wasn't in 2019 that he was transferred across provinces to Chongqing. A few years later, he was put in charge of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau. Think about it. putting someone who spent most of his life working in infrastructure and investment in charge of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, which is known for being one of the most complicated and murky in all of China. This is like using a dull knife from outside the circle to cut through the tangled and deep-rooted web of darkness in Chongqing. But the question is, does this person have enough political power to not only purge others, but also protect himself? Sure enough, 18 months later, his official obituary was released. It was only 79 characters. After a sudden illness and failed treatment, he passed away at 10:52 a.m. May 7th. It omitted the illness, medical history, and emergency treatment. But there was another version circulating among the public that was very specific. According to this account, early that morning, Zhang Anjiang jumped from the 15th floor of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau building. The public version was precise down to the time and the exact floor, while the official statement was vague and ambiguous. This inevitably draws attention to the political earthquake that shook Chongqing's official circles right before his death. Shortly before Zhang Anjiang's case, on March 20th, 2026, Chongqing Mayor Hu Henghawa was dismissed. Then, on April 17th, a standing committee member was probed. In just 2 months, Chongqing's leadership faced constant shakeups. Don't forget, Zhang Anjiang was not only the chief of police, but also the deputy mayor in charge of judicial affairs, confidentiality, and petitions. At the same time, he was also the liaison for the city's supervisory commission, the courts, and the prosecutorate. You could say he was the ultimate gatekeeper of all the dark secrets within Chongqing's officialdom. Who was being secretly investigated? Who was being quietly questioned? Whose home was raided overnight? All the most sensitive political secrets were firmly in Zhang Anjiang's hands. When the storm hit, this technocrat suddenly found himself caught between the gears of the local power brokers and the forces from Beijing seeking retribution. He knew too much, but was far too powerless. This recalls a similar case on October 31st, 2019, when the 19th Central Committee's fourth plenum closed. Chongqing Deputy Secretary Ren Shuifeng died suddenly. Officials use the same phrase, died after failed medical treatment. However, according to rumors among the public and reports from Hong Kong media, he died by jumping from the 7th floor of the Jingxi Hotel in Beijing. According to insiders, at Ren Shuifeng's family farewell, there was only a memorial hall. There wasn't even a body. From Wen Qiang, the deputy director of Chongqing Public Security Bureau in 2000, to Director Zhang Anjiang in 2024, Chongqing has changed police chiefs 6 times in 25 years. Not a single one ended well. The best outcome was a 15-year prison sentence. Why is this position so unique? First is the battleground at the eye of the storm. In the power structure of the Chinese Communist Party, the party secretaries of the 4 directly governed municipalities are also members of the Central Political Bureau, holding the rank of vice national leaders. These people all hope to take another step forward and become contenders for the Politburo Standing Committee. So this is naturally an arena for those vying for the highest power, and the police chief is the sharpest weapon in the party secretary's hand. For any ambitious party secretary, the first step to climbing up the ranks is to turn the police chief into their own private armed force. Conversely, for any political faction at the central level looking to expand its influence, the first step is also to win over the police chiefs of the directly governed municipalities. For example, Bo Xilai won over Wang Lijun, and Sun Zengkai won over Ting. Wen Lijun became entangled in the fate of Deng Huilin and the successive Chongqing police chiefs. From the moment he took that position, he was tied to the chariot of high-level politics. Once that chariot overturns, there's absolutely no chance for him to escape unscathed. The second reason is the reckoning of the black box. Why is it that every time there's a major political purge, the police chief is always the first to go? It's because he holds all the dirt on the city's powerful and elite in his hands. He knows who laundered money, who hid evidence, who organized secret dinners. He's the keeper of this black box. And for the side that comes out on top in the struggle, this dirt is a real treasure trove. So for people like this, they either recruit the police chief to join their own ranks, or they make sure to silence him permanently. If you keep him around, he knows too much. If you don't, you avoid endless trouble down the line. In the end, every new police chief parachutes in like a firefighter, which inevitably leads to a vicious cycle. Look, Wang Lijun was sent to take down Wen Qiang, and Ting was sent to take down Wang Lijun. Deng Huilin was sent to purge Sun Jiansai and Ting. Then, after each of these firefighters takes office, they all do the same thing. Under the pretense of eliminating lingering toxic influences, they purge dissenters, install their own trusted people, weave their own networks of interest, and then they themselves become the next so-called toxic influence to be purged. In the dark world of CCP politics, the term toxic influence has no boundaries. Whoever controls the right to define what is toxic influence controls the political tool to legitimately purge their opponents. And as for the city of Chongqing, because of its complex network of brotherhood culture, dockside interests, and local factions, any parachuted official who lacks strong political resolve and power will get sucked in within 2 or 3 years. The local interest groups will use money and women to ensnare him. And in order to gain a foothold in Chongqing, he inevitably has to rely on a higher-level patron. But in the CCP's philosophy of power struggles, no patron is permanent. Once the patron falls, this person will go down with them. So from the downfall of the previous official to parachuting in someone to put out the fire, then to Jia Suqing's thorough purge, creating a power vacuum, cultivating one's own faction, and finally, when the high-level patron falls, getting implicated and purged, and then another parachuted firefighter appears to take over. Each link is connected to the next, and the cycle never ends. It's just like back then, when China's #1 gangster cursed the anti-crime godfather Wen Qiang, saying, "You'll end up just like me." From Wen Qiang to Wang Lijun, from Wang Lijun to Ting, from Ting to Deng Huilin, and from Deng Huilin to Zhang Anjiang. Now, this Chongqing underworld curse is quietly hanging over the head of the next police chief. Who will be next? Does he dare to take the job? How long can he last? And in what way will this curse come true for him? Let's wait and see. All right, that's all for today's discussion. Did you enjoy today's show, friends? If you did, please be sure to share your thoughts with me in the comments section. If you have any insights, feel free to discuss them with me there as well. I read every single comment you leave. And before we wrap up, I'd like to ask for a small favor. If you haven't given me a like yet, please do so. To new friends, welcome to True Perspective, and I also encourage you to subscribe and share my show with more people. Don't forget, the fan-recommended hype feature can help my videos reach a wider audience and go even further. So I'd like to thank everyone in advance. All right, thank you all for watching, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. That's it for today. I'll see you next Tuesday at the same time on True Perspective. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.